was the definition of Jonas Bidgerson?
Jonas Bidgerson, huh? Haven't had that name in a while.
I mean, where to begin really?
Loyal.
Loud.
He was a force to be reckoned with.
The definition of Jonas Bidgerson is that he was addicted to living.
Hardworking.
Portly.
If you need something, he'd always be there.
You're quite athletic.
A decent bloke.
The friend you would go to for anything.
Actually, thinking about it, he was quite an awful man.
Who was Jonas to you?
Originally, he was my mentor at work.
Well, when I was growing up, he was my neighbour.
I met Jonas at church. I hadn't seen him come in before. He must have been new, but he'd obviously seen me before because he came and sat down next to me. My mother was to my left, and he said hi. He was nice enough, but he kind of reached his hand over and shook my mother's hand and said her first name, like he already knew her. I didn't find out until 6 months later that he was fucking her.
He was, I wouldn't say friend, just more of just someone who was very annoying in school, kept on shouting constantly. One day he actually started ripping one of his teeth out and he raised it into the classroom just, Miss, I've lost my tooth. I mean, I was also his dentist in the later years.
Did you always see eye to eye with Jonas?
He'd always come around saying the most horrible things about me, racial slurs. Sometimes he'd even make rude little rhymes.
He kept talking about how he'd slept with my mum.
He'd often say that he was only hanging out with me because he thought my mum was really fit.
Jonas liked to think of himself as a bit of a father figure, and he'd often try to connect with me on a personal level, but I already had a dad, and I tried to make that blatantly clear to him multiple times.
Nasty way to go, wasn't it?
Really, really horrid way to go. But I mean, when you carry around 3,000 magnets with you at all times, basically just asking for a disaster.
I've heard what actually happened is he got like quite severe frostbite up on the mountain, and he fainted because of the cold, and his lifeline wasn't secure, and he plummeted maybe 400 or 500 meters.
Nasty way to go, wasn't it?
Ligma.
What's ligma?
Ligma balls.
Nasty way to go, wasn't it?
Yeah. They say it was just a car accident, but...
I want to find the bastard who did it.
Nasty way to go, wasn't it?
How did he go?
Oh, he died in a car accident.
Oh yes, of course.
Did you not know about this?
It was a Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yes. What's a notable memory of him?
A noble memory.
Notable.
Notable? Oh, I was going to say not much noble about Jonas.
Well, a few years back it was my mother's 60th birthday, and I thought I'd throw her a party. So I invited friends, family, and I thought I'd do something quite special, and I provided the catering for everyone. I kind of slaved in the kitchen the day before and the day actually, just kind of preparing like little snacky foods, and I didn't exactly invite Jonas, but Jonas was there, and he showed up before the party started, often as he does, and he took one look at my scones and threw them directly in the bin, and said that he would do the catering himself. So I said, fine, okay. I went to the other room to set up, and by the time I came back, there he was fucking my mother on the kitchen table.
Jonas. So at work, whenever you start theirs, we go out for office drinks, just a little bit of a welcome introduction to everyone in the office, which was like quite nice. He was there obviously, so was I, with a couple of others, and do you know the card trick where it's hard to explain, but you get a deck of cards and you just keep flipping them over and you can predict the next cards, and he just rattled it. He had a couple of drinks in him, so everyone could tell he was a little bit gone, but happiest drunk you'll ever meet. And he just got the deck of cards and just went through it. and the entire bar just watched him do it, and it was incredible. He had the entire bar in rapture. It was incredible, and it just sort of made it feel comfortable to be around the people at work, which was really nice. Really good way to introduce me to the company and the guys.
Sounds like a lovely man.
He really was.
If you could say something to him now, what would you say?
Eat shit.
I'd say thank you for everything you have done for me. Just the support he gave me, the joy he brought to my mother as well. I could tell they were so good for each other.
If I could say something to Jonas, well, to be honest, I think I've said most of what I'd like to say to him already, but I suppose it doesn't hurt to repeat it. I think, rot in hell, you piece of shit. I think that sums it up pretty well. Maybe I'd add a few F words, maybe a cunt or two in there.
What lessons do you think we could all learn from Jonas?
That we shouldn't punch down.
I mean, taking care of your teeth is number one priority, really.
I mean, maybe not mountain climbing, given what happened.
I mean, say what you want about the man, he did make a good beef Wellington.
I think we could all learn to be considerate of other people.
With Jonas Dickerson.
How helping other people actually also helps yourself.
They should have locked him up so many years ago. Why did I have to become a prison dentist?
Do you think that he had a good life?
He lived to 90. I don't know what he was doing on the mountain at 90.
I think he seemed to have his fun. He was smiling with his awful mouth
Always had a grin on his face.
that he used to do things with. Eat shit mostly.
A shit-eating grin on his face.
I wish he had the worst life imaginable. And he has now. He has no life. That's the best type of life for him that he deserves. None.
Do you think that he thought that he had a good life?
He was never satisfied with anything. He always wanted more. Out of everything. Food. Cars. My mother.
Do you think that he'd think that you thought that he had a good life? Yes.
I think with Jonas, I think he would definitely think that I was thinking of him thinking about his life in such a way that my thoughts on it would be that he would think that his life was probably going pretty well. Overall, I do think that he'd think that I thought that he would think that he...
But if you had to put a gun to his head and ask him whether or not he thought that I thought he had a good life, I think he'd probably say yes. And he'd be right.
What do you miss most about Jonas?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
I miss the government grants I was given to take care of him.
I don't miss the way he kind of bragged about, having sex with my mum.
Having someone who made my mother happy. It's been really hard for her, and it's really upsetting to see what could have been just cut short.
God, I'm getting emotional, man. Jonas,
Alright, thanks.
Thank you.
I cannot fucking tell you how perfect that was. That was perfect. Honestly, that fits in perfectly. You carried that really well, actually.
Yeah.